Well, I'm nothing if not persistent. 100 on the bar. Time for a little bit of ambition. 105 on the bar, 2.5 extra on each side. Practicing zone 2 and good pedalling technique whilst on the drops. Post-exercise recovery, stroke, pre-race day fuel, part 1. Don't walk when you can sit, don't sit when you can lie down, blah 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 blah. Not applicable to any of us that have jobs, but what I can do is be really lazy and take the bus round the corner and save an extra 200 metres of walking. Fuel for the race, part 2. Chickpea curry on veg with a tiny little naan bread. Pre-race fuel number 3. Vegan cookie, 400 calories, about 16 grams of protein, 29 grams of carbohydrate, including 10 grams of fibre and moderate fats. Decent nutrition to fuel the race. Well, it's Saturday morning and I decided not to race outdoors today because the wind is going to be pretty strong, very gusty, and the last time I did it at Red Bridge I had a crash. Then it went head over heels on the bike, so...
Shit, man. You alright?
Yeah, I'm just pissed off because I had the strength for that, for, you know, top 9 at least. I'm whistling out a little bit, but I'm going to go for 2 races on Zwift today, starting with the crit race, the crit city circuit, only a 16-kilometre race, but very difficult, very fast, lots of surging. So now time for amino acids, cold coffee and water. It's been 6 weeks since I embraced Ed Laverak's polarised training programme, and as I've touched on during the vlog, the live streams and the outdoor crits, I've gradually been seeing the benefits of this translate to my 30-second power, 40-second power, 1-minute power, and most recently, my 3-minute efforts outdoors, and that's been very pleasing indeed. However, I did feel that this crit city race is a really big step forwards because it's the first time I've really tested what my 20-minute power is at absolute max effort while surging. And whilst on average it was 311 watts over the 20 minutes 41 seconds, that did include 20-minute power of 313 watts, which is 4.8 watts a kilogram, and that's a personal best for me. It also included normalised power of 319 watts, which again is a personal best for me. So really appreciate this training methodology, Ed, and looking forward to continue to make progression. Thanks. We need to work together, not break each other at the beginning. Settle, Philip. This is as hard as I feared it would be. I'm hanging on for grim death here. This is unenjoyable. I mean, done. Nah. Oh, that was... Sorry. As Arnold will say, never be afraid of failure. Well, I'm really pleased to have got a couple of virtual races under the belt today. And obviously I'm really thrilled with the 313 watt average power on the Crit City race, but I also very much enjoyed that dirt chase race. I think it's an amazing concept. I love the idea of the A's setting off 9 minutes after the D's, and obviously the C setting off after the D's, the B setting off after the C's, and the A setting off after the B's. And that means that each group has to both stick together and work really hard together in order to chase down the group in front. And that in turn means there's very little recovery. You're not going much below threshold at any given time, but also you're spending a lot of time in that zone 5 and zone 6 with the surges. And ultimately, that's what caused me to get dropped around kilometre 20, because I just couldn't keep coping with all the really acute power surges as we went through all the different groups. Anyway, it was great racing. I was very happy with the average power over 37 minutes of 282 watts, and that included 20-minute power of 288 watts. So all in all, some great training today, and certainly time for a bit of zone 2 recovery tomorrow, and maybe some strength training. I'm going to be pairing 2 exercises, safety bar squat and single leg Romanian deadlift. The single leg RDLs is what I'm starting with in order to warm up the glute, the hamstring and the quad. They felt good, and it's also nice to start with them because it does take a little bit of time for the core, the hamstrings, the glutes, the quads and all the stabilising muscles to warm up properly. And now for the key strength and power building exercise, the paused safety bar squat. And a pause ensures that you take all of the kinetic energy and the momentum and the bounce out the bottom of the movement, and that makes it harder. And that means you have to accelerate faster and create more power in order to extend upwards. Really fighting hard there to keep the legs out and the knees out over the toes, the core very tight, and a nice upright chest and straight back. Now this is a sissy bar squat, and don't be fooled, it may look innocuous, but it is a wolf in sheepskin. There is nothing sissy about it at all, and it is great for forging the mind-muscle connection, in particular with the hamstring, glute and quad. Very difficult to perform well. I'm going to try and demonstrate 5 pause reps on each leg individually. Now initially I'm going to demonstrate the movement with both legs because it's very difficult. I'm not even sure if I'm still going to be able to do a single leg movement. Now in terms of the setup, you want to lock yourself in tightly with your calves up against the pad. And then you take a lot of air into the core as always, stabilise the core, get the chest up, shoulders up, arms up, and let yourself drop down, squeezing the glutes, the hamstrings and the quad and keeping the core tight. And then at the bottom, when you feel your hamstrings touch the top of the pad, you extend upwards powerfully by squeezing really hard the hamstring, glute and the quad, and that's where you get the mind-muscle connection. And that felt really good. I could really feel the quad in particular working really hard, but you're also squeezing the hamstring and the glute. So it's great for all the muscles we need for cycling. And now it's time for the single leg work. Fingers crossed.
Yes, we've got those shoulders to go, and we've got arms to go, and we're going to merge. Yes, easy. Enjoy it as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I should have invited. I'm going to extend it to that level because my house is that big. Richard.
Well, you can see they were very difficult, and I wasn't even managing to get to the same depth as it was on the two-legged sissy squats. But remember, extra depth, even with the same reps and weight, equals progression, so it's something I can build up to. And a single leg work really does emphasize the mind-muscle connection, and of course builds even strength and muscular development on each leg, which is exactly what we need to have even power through the pedals and good pedaling technique. Well, overall I'm quite happy with that lower body strength training session, especially on the back of two such hard race efforts yesterday. And while it may seem a little bit counterintuitive to stack lower body strength on the back of two such hard efforts on the bike, in my personal experience I find that in particular lower body strength training session helps rebuild the flexibility through the body and also obviously develops power and strength. Added to that, I'm just literally about to jump on the bike to do about an hour of zone 2, and that's going to get plenty of blood pumping through all the leg muscles to further facilitate recovery. Also, I've learned that on the Ed Laverack polarized training program, I don't want to be stacking any kind of lower body strength work ahead of his tough efforts. And tomorrow's session from Ed looks suitably difficult. Welcome to Ed Laverack's breakaway drills. I have to take 2 minutes at 110 to 125% of FTP, really up to about 345 watts, and then recover for 3 minutes at 95% to 105% of FTP, i.e. 275 to 305 watts. This is the first of the breakaway drills. I get 2 minutes recovery between each set. There are 6 sets. First 2 minutes. Oh, horrible. Two minutes to go. You can feel the lactic already. Heart rate's under control. Feeling somewhat intimidated by the fact there's 5 more to come. Yep, it's going to be a tough old morning. I'll report back on the 6th.
And here you rejoin me during the 6th and final of the breakaway efforts, and I'm well and truly in a mess, with my pain-faced spoilers fully deployed. This is most definitely training without mercy, courtesy of Mr. Ed Laverack. Majestically, I crest the epic KOM about 42 seconds into the 3-minute segment at 275 to 300 watts. But I realise I've made a small but very terrible miscalculation. It's a schoolboy error of needing to either descend and ruin the effort, simply not an option for me, or take the pain and hit the ascent to the radio tower. So stoically, I select the bonus climb and elect to drain the tank with some really big watts. And furthermore, in the midst of my misery, I make further errors in the arithmetic, ending up completing an entire extra minute. And so now the suffering may become too harrowing to show in its entirety, forcing Chris to resort to a time-lapse sequence.
I just wanted to empty the tank there. So I went as hard as I could. Sorry. Just went as hard as I could on that final set of 3 minutes. I think turned into 4 minutes.